My name is Clifford. Dyonase. I'm from the Eastern Cape, in a Fort Beaufort area. We have an organization called Alice Cat. At the moment, I'm the chairperson. When you talk about the Alice Cat, you talk about the area, the upper Cat, on the road to Queenstown from Fort Beaufort. My farm is 30 kilometers away from Fort Beaufort, and there are farmers as well in Case Kamahoko. We organize ourselves as a Alice Cat farmers. I've been there since 1987. We were trained by the Israelites. Myself, I was trained by Ben Hillel. We went also to Fort Cox because they were specializing on citrus. Then there was a process within the then Sky government. The process of privatizing the farms. And mine, I started to privatize my farm in 1991, up until today. Yes, of course, there were ups and downs, but really we can see the light now, provided there are some other things are being resolved, some challenges are being addressed. Currently, I've got 26 hectares of citrus. Then I've got 4 varieties. I've got soft citrus, which is Nova. I've got also lemon. I've got Caracara. I've got also Navel, the Washington Navels. These are the varieties that I'm having within that 26 hectares. And I am an exporter, yes, to UN, EU, Canada, all those places, and some in Africa, and even at home. We are selling, people are coming. Yes, I'm exporting through CATCO. There's Cat River in Fort Beaufort. It has been there for quite some time. I've been exporting since 1991. But in 1996, I had a pause because there was no development. Up until 2007, then I started develop. There is a person that I want to name. He was a MEC then of agriculture in the Eastern Cape, Unkwinti. Is the one who came with a good idea to me to say, because our trees were old, then he said to us, "Hi guys, we must start to develop." It's where we started developed. Then we were joined by IDC and the department at home in the Eastern Cape, for the development of those trees. Yes, it's how really I'm coping. I would say, I'll put in that fashion. Yeah, in fact, there are difficult years, but in a way, we are going through. Citrus is not easy. Citrus is not easy, but you have to thrive, You have to be patient, trying and resolving. Yes, there is assistance from the government. There is assistance from CGA, GDC, EDF, but it doesn't help us to that much. Actually, what we need in order for us to be able to overcome all these challenges, in as much I've got a title, I do have a title, I own the farm, but we need the bank. We don't have a revolving account. The first challenge, for example, in this period now, like last month, we were supposed to apply the fertilizer like nitrogen or urea, but if you don't apply, it's going to affect your crop. That is the challenge that we are currently facing. Can I go further with some challenges that need to be addressed? The challenges, I was said to the GM here the general manager, Mr. Lukhanyo Nkombisa, to say, we need as black farmers, not only me, a comprehensive plan, a comprehensive development plan that will be able, because old trees are subsidizing the young trees. There is no cash flow for the young trees. As a result, that is why we are not, I can't say I do have a profit, because those monies subsidize the young trees. Unless we can get a proper development plan, we bring in the government, all the stakeholders like CGA, we bring them together, then we have a sustainable plan. You know, I know there are unforeseen circumstances. Those unforeseen circumstances is like the climate, the weather. When was it? It was Tuesday, before we came here yesterday. To some farms, there was a storm. They were hit by, by the storms. These are unforeseen circumstances. But we are thriving through in those particular circumstances. But my main point is a developmental plan for all the farmers. To say your farmers is this size, then you need to develop so far, then I think it can be able to take us somewhere, as far as I'm concerned. Yes, there is a challenge with the EU. It's restriction, and they are very strict when it comes with EU. I'm not saying others are not, like the Middle East, you name them, China, but with EU, they are really, in fact, there was a year where they changed the protocols, and it was difficult for us. Our oranges were dumped on the ocean, because of changing of protocols, The difficulty where we get, let's start on the ground before we say we're exporting. There is this compliance issue, it's done by Global Gap and by CISA as well. It is very expensive for the farmers. It's costly. We have to run the farm, we have to run the compliance issue. We have to comply. Not that it is very difficult for us to comply, but it needs also it goes back around to cash. There should be an injection of the cash so that we're able to comply. It is not that very difficult, but money-wise, money speaks a lot. Money speaks volumes. We cannot deny that. Obviously, we need to market to EU, to US, to everywhere, because we want returns, good returns from those markets or overseas. Yeah. Hence, I'm saying, there are quite challenges. But nevertheless, no challenge cannot be overcome unless all those interested parties, they are willing. They are really willing. Let me also go to the government challenge. The government has its own way of doing things. For example, us, a tree need attention at a particular time. But because of government, of those, we have to consult, we have to sign, we have to do this and this, there's a delay. Meanwhile, we are still waiting for that. I'm sure if we can address that bureaucracy, to follow up so that we know these people really, are quick. Because if you're supposed to apply a fertilizer in a tree and you don't now, you are late, We are late. It's affecting your production. This is some of the challenges. We went to government. When was it? From last year, asking them for the revolving account. There's ECRDA in the Eastern Cape, Eastern Cape Rural Development Agency, including, because it's part of the Eastern Cape government. We said to them, no, please guys, can you help us with a revolving account? Nothing happened. The season come, we're supposed to pick. Nothing happened. All things were on the book, all those delays and so up until today. We were waiting to pay the workers, the pickers. And we are paying them through the payroll. And we are paying as per government, policy, so that we qualify, because the Caesar that I've talked about and the compliance I have to talk about doesn't also mean the crop only. It also means the laborers, how you treat, how you pay them and so on, UIF, the staff, everything. COIDA is there, compensation fund, are you in par, But since we are struggling, we didn't ask a loan. We were asking a revolving account to assist ourselves. This is some of the challenges that I think we do have. Yes. Yeah, there were good moments. In as much there were, low moments. When you develop your orchard, at heart you feel, that you are going to employ people, And when you see you export, you bring that currency in the exchange of the currency in your country. These were the good moments, When you see during harvest, it's a happy time. Employing people, so many people, 50 and above, for 3 to 4 months, These are the moments where you say, there's a happy moment that I still remember when I was receiving my title deed. Once more, I say it was Minister Nkwinti was there. I can't remember he was a MEC, I can't remember the minister then. Whether it was Derek Anekom or who, it was that moment I couldn't forget. Because our hope were risen, Yes, our hope were risen. It was one of those moments in my time, packing fruit. You see your fruit running on the line, being exported, Yes. We are not just creating jobs to those people who are living with them, but we are also creating jobs to the entire the broad of South Africa. In terms, there are packing materials there. And those packing materials, are being sold by outside people. Our pack shed is in Fort Beaufort. People there are being employed. You can see South Africa with the rate of unemployment, it's very high. But when you contribute as an individual to few people, you say, man, it's great. This is how I feel. Yes, there is hope. In ourselves, we must have faith. I normally say to people, I'm quoting the Bible sometimes, 2 Corinthians chapter 5, verse 7. We live by faith, not by sight. Meaning that there is future. Because hope means tomorrow, which means when you've got hope, things will be better. I think CGA must be able to focus on how do we really develop and how do we really inspire because other people are going to be inspired by us. Once they see we are flourishing, then they will be aspire. In Fort Beaufort, I've got a wish to say there is a belt of citrus, from where I'm living in Balfour up to, you go to Chume, there's a lying land there. Well, there was citrus before. If we can be able to develop, I'm sure the CGA must be able really to work together with the government in terms of development, not only in terms of exporting, but they must be able to bring in the government so that the government must start developing those farms. Our farms, the current farms we have, must be able to, to flourish, must be able to grow, so that people, when they are looking, there's that interest, to say, hey, I want to farm. I can see, so that there will be a creation of jobs. The vacant lands must be planted citrus. Fortunately, our area is the best, they normally say is the best citrus in the world, where I'm living. Which means if we can plant citrus, there's a belt there. I know in other areas there's a challenge of frost. Normally there's Malanpas there, there's frost in winter and so on, but we can plant early varieties, to mitigate. But in other areas, as you go towards Fort Beaufort, Grahamstown, Adelaide and so on, they can even plant the later varieties. My hope at the end of the day, is to have a plant juice in my area. We mobilize white farmers, black farmers together, so that in that area we do have a plant juice. Also, it will help now this challenge of a cash flow.